Hi everyone, it's Donna here from Blind and Knitting. This is episode 21 or 22, I better check. 22. It is the 30th of October. It's a miserable day outside. It's just blowing and blustery. We haven't had a great spring. But I hope you're all well and you will look forward to my knitting podcast. So this is my podcast where I share about my knitting, my projects, things that I love in the knitting world, podcasts and whips, all sorts of things. But also I like to share some mental health tips. I'm a social worker. I have been for over 35 years now, and through life and through education I've kind of learned these tips along the way to help with your mental health. So that's me, Blind and Knitting. Welcome. If you haven't been to my podcast before, welcome. I hope you're going to enjoy the next time. It's usually an hour. If you have been before, and thank you for coming back. I'm really loving doing these podcasts, and I know all of us say this, but I'm really enjoying podcasting and just talking to people. The conversations back and the friends I'm making are just loving it. So enjoy. Subscribe if you want to subscribe down below. Just click the subscribe button and you'll get a pop-up when I'm on, and a like, talk about me, and then the more people talk about me, the more people will do it. So let's get started. It's been a fortnight. In fact, I think it's been 3 weeks, but it has been a fortnight for me. The first thing is I'm wearing a hat. Now, I don't wear hats. I made this years ago. I don't wear hats very often, and I just made this out of some lovely wool from Fibre to Go that I bought many years ago. And I also made some gloves, and there's actually a reason why I'm wearing these. So I love fingerless gloves. I do wear fingerless gloves a lot in the winter. I find them the best. So this is my wee little set. As I say, I don't wear hats a lot. It's not something that I wear regularly. Sometimes if I'm out on the farm, I will, but that's becoming less and less with my sight challenges. But also, I think the last time I wore this was we went to Speedway with the grandkids. So I certainly needed it then. It was cold. So not a hat fan, but I'm wearing it for another reason today. Now, sit back, take a breath, and be prepared. I've been doing my 60 to 60 challenge, and I've been doing all these sorts of things, fun things like, what do you call those, the zip liners, and going on walkers for the day, big walkers, and going on yachts and things, but also doing little things like getting my nose pierced, getting a big tattoo, which says participant, not spectator. I love my tattoo. It's the New Zealand fern with a little heart in it, and participant, not spectator on it. That was one that I got. But this, are you ready for it? Are you ready? Oh, look at this. Now my hairdresser told me that it would dye the ends of my hair. It hasn't. It's done a lot. Thankfully it's not permanent. Thankfully it's a conditioner and will wash out, but it's with me, so let's have a bit of fun with it. So that's why I was wearing a hat. Surprise! Pink hair. I don't know, but just a bit of fun. It'll wash out. Just change of scenery. Speaking about change of scenery, I wonder how you are. How's your 2 weeks been? Has it been okay? Mine's been interesting. So the first, a week ago, my daughter and her husband decided to go on their honeymoon. Well, not a week ago decided, but went on their honeymoon. And so they said, can you granny sit? They've got 5 kids between them, but one doesn't live at home, Zoe. and 4 that live at home. So 2 of the children went to the other grandparent and I went and stayed at their house. They've got 2 great big dogs. So I granny sat for the week, 7 days. I felt like I was on holiday actually. You know, when you're in a different place, you may be doing the same things. I was still going to work and still doing all those things and looking after the kids and dogs as well. But just a change of scenery. You do feel like you're on holiday, which is quite nice. And I really quite enjoyed it. And I loved my time with the grandkids. That was really nice. Yeah, it was really quite special. We didn't do anything but watch a few movies and cook tea together and all those things you do normally. But yeah, so it was quite special. Yeah, so that was my week. I had 7 days away from home. Kenzie came with me. Kushla and Keith have 2 dogs. They've got Hulk, who is a bull mastiff, and he's a monster. His head is just ginormous. But he's such a honey of a dog. And then Tilly, who's a greyhound. I don't know if any of you have been close to greyhounds, but they're actually quite big dogs, big strong dogs. But Tilly and Hulk are both getting a bit senior. And then, of course, Kenzie. So I had the 3 whopping big dogs and 2 grandchildren for the week. Great fun. Yeah, so that was my week. I came home on Sunday, slept Sunday night, and on the Monday, my lovely brother-in-law had a heart attack and was rushed to Wellington Hospital. Yeah, it's a wake-up call for everyone. Thankfully, he's okay. He's had a stent put in and he's going to need some more. But he's back home now, feeling a bit battle-worn, but at the moment he's okay. But it does give you a wake-up call. So I went back into town and stayed at my sister's for a week while they were over in Wellington Hospital, because she's got a dog. They've got a dog, Bailey, who's a lab cross, and a cat, and the grandkids were all coming and going, and their kids were all coming and going. So I just was there sort of being the bolt hole, I suppose, you know, the anchor. While life is spinning around when things are happening, you just need one person to sort of be that bolt hole, and that's what I was hoping I was for the family, is just be there and keep the house running. So I've actually had 11 days away from home. Yeah, Stuart's loved it, because he's had the whole bed, he's had the remote, he's had no snoring, because I'm a terrible snorer. So he's enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it, just change of scenery. But yeah, the health hiccup was a bit, much. So, but it has, it does make you think, we need to be very mindful of our figures and our numbers. By figures, I don't mean the shape of our figures, of our numbers, our blood pressure, all of those sorts of numbers. We need to take care of ourselves and just do the best we can. Nobody's perfect, and I know I'm not perfect, at all. Donna doesn't come under P in the dictionary, perfect Donna. No, it doesn't work. So I'm not perfect at all either, but it has woken me up to, just be a bit conscious of what you're doing. Achy wakey is one of those things. This is a knitting podcast, so I'll get into some knitting, and then I'll just fill you in on things along the way and spread them in through the knitting. What I'm wearing. So I am wearing my Paris de jour, beg your pardon, Paris de jour. I love this. The reason I'm wearing it is because I do have a finished object I was going to wear, but it's maybe miserable weather, but it's jolly hot, and my body keeps going away on little tropical holidays at the moment, so I just need something I can take off and on. So I thought I'll throw on my Paris de jour, which is a Isabel Kramer pattern that in an 8-ply. It's a really cool pattern. I have to sit forward, don't I? That's better. There we go. It was really easy, lots of yarn overs and knitting. It's huge. I mean, I'm a 6 foot big woman, and this is a big, huge scarf. I'll show you. No. Big. But fun to wear. You can wear it any way you like, really. I quite like it with one shoulder over to the side, and that one under and that one over. What I'd want to get, and I've seen them, is those shawl clamps or clasps. So I'd really like a shawl clasp because I quite like the side to one side. Anyway, that's what I'm wearing. So Isabel Kramer, and it's knit with a New Zealand wool called Sublime, which was an 8-ply merino cashmere mix. Merino cashmere, maybe silk in it as well. It was some time ago I knit it, so yeah. But it's a fun one to knit. But when I go on my little tropical holiday, sometime through the podcast, I will be taking this off so I can survive and drink some water. I don't know if any of you have had the same thing, but I got COVID in March and it's now October. And I find that if I talk too much, or I'm tired, or I'm emotional, or just tired, my throat doesn't cope well. And this is ever since I've had COVID. So obviously it's just one of those residual things. It starts getting a bit shaky on it, and I sound like I'm going to cry, but it's my throat. And yeah, it's just one of those things that sort of lingers from COVID. Oh, sugar, are you okay? I just kicked you. I'm trying to get comfy. Sorry, crossing my legs. Probably not a good thing to do, but I'm going to cross my legs. The other thing that's different is I've moved my pot plant down here, just because I fed it with, I've got worms. Not I've got worms. That sounds terrible. I have a worm farm in my garden, and so I feed it all sorts of things like dust out of the vacuum cleaner. They love hair, so for Kenzie's fur, tissues, a little bit of food scraps, not too much because they tend to rot. They're quite slow munches through it, but they get rid of all of that sort of stuff, and then they produce worm wheeze, which comes out, and I fill bottles with it and feed my pot plants. And I fed them the other day, and this one here has just gone so it's gone down because it was just too big, and I was sort of sitting like this, which wasn't a pretty thing. So yeah, if anyone that's local wants some worm weaves, give me a yell. Although it's a bit dry at the moment, but it'll start again soon. So yeah, so that's changed in here. You're also on a tripod instead of on my ironing board. We're getting a bit posh now. I don't know why. I had a tripod at work, and so I thought I'll bring it home and do that for a change. So I'm sorry if I'm kilted or not sitting right, but hey ho, as I always say, you get what you get. So that was what I'm wearing. So I have one FO, one finished object. I have several, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 whips. One of them I won't show you today because I haven't actively been working on it. That's my Birkin. So I won't bring that out. If you're interested, you can look back on other podcasts. But the others I have actively been working on because I've been away from home. I took my knitting basket with me. So, gosh forbid I go somewhere without my knitting. So I was able to sit and knit and do my usual. So yeah, Paris Toujours, Isabel Kramer, done. So tick that off. So finished object. I'll tell you my finished object. And I absolutely love this. I think at the last podcast I was going to cast it on. I don't think it was a whip. I just flew through it because I just love it, and I've worn it so much, and if I wasn't so hot today I would wear it today. And this is it here. There is a picture of me wearing it on my Instagram page. There we go. You can see that. It is called let me make sure I get it right. It's a petite knit. It's called Terrazzo, Terrazzo, and it is a vest, sleeveless vest, and it has a long one. The back is longer than the front. I didn't do it quite as long as the pattern, but I did do it so that it just, I don't know, it just makes just a little bit of difference. It's really nice. And is supposed to be a polo neck. Well, no, maybe it was a whip at the last podcast, because I seem to remember talking about the boo-boo I had with the neck. So that's how it is supposed to be, but I don't like wearing it like that. I actually like it sort of scrunched up as a longer polo neck. I just love it. It is made out of, it's a 12 ply, and it's called Chaska, and I bought it in a local wool shop in Masterton. It's 100% alpaca, and it is like butter. It is just the most divine thing to wear. So so that's and it was a beauty to knit. It just flew off the needles. It actually looks and knits like an 8-ply. If you can see that stitch closer, if you can see that, but it does knit up like an 8-ply. It felt like it to me. So the size, I've been finding that I've been knitting my jerseys recently way too big. And so I thought I would take the suggestion on of somebody told me to measure my bust measurement under my arms and not actually on the widest part of my bust, and use that measurement, which made a lot of sense for me, because, you know, fabric will stretch. My scarf isn't on properly, I took it off, didn't I? And which I did. So I measured my underarm bust, and I used that measurement and I'm not going to tell you what it is, although it'll probably sneak out at some stage. No secrets, really. And it fits like a glove. It's just like it was obviously meant to be. So I'm going to do that with my knits from now on, as I'm not going to do them from my bust, the biggest part of my bust. I'm going to do them from there. It makes so much sense, and then my necklines aren't so big. The only other modification I did, well, not the only one of the modifications, is I used a 3.75 on the rib for the neckline instead of, it uses the same one all the way through, a 4. It's done on a 4mm. And I just was worried that I'm not a tight knitter. I'm certainly not a loose knitter. I'm kind of just average, but I didn't want a floppy, like a cowl neck. I wasn't going for a cowl neck. I was definitely going for a turtleneck. And I've never knitted with alpaca before, and I know that it doesn't have the give or the spring back that wool has. So I thought I would knit it on a smaller needle. We'll see how that wears. I don't know. I've absolutely lived in it, so. The only thing I was absolutely devastated with is I was carrying my knitting basket out of the house in between visits, and I caught the front of it and pulled a thread along there, and it hasn't broken it, but it has pulled a little hole that I've tried. I'm hoping it'll block out and stretch it back into shape as time goes on, but I was devastated. I thought I had really done a whopper, but it actually, you can't see it. It's too much at all. And, blind man to be pleased to see it. It's quite weighty, but I'm guessing that's the alpaca. So it's very warm, but not having sleeves helps. As I say, I've just worn it with a white t-shirt and all sorts of different pants. I've worn it with palazzo pants. I've worn it with jeans. And I've worn it with leggings, so lots of different ones. It's got split up the side, which I quite liked the way that they've done that. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. Terrazzo Petite Knits, and you can have a look at on my Facebook page, on my Instagram, which is I'll remind you, it's blind_and_knitting. Because I had another one and it was compromised and I can't delete it, so it's still there. But so make sure you go to my my one that I'm using now all the time, blind_and_knitting, and there's some photos of me wearing it, so you can see how lovely it is. Really good knit. Super happy with that. So that's my FO, and that took me 3 weeks to knit. So I've been wearing, it must have been a whip in my last podcast, because I've worn it for a while. Happy, happy, happy with that. So I'll just have a drink because again that's my throat. Sorry about that. I wonder whether any of you others, you know, if you've had COVID, if there's any of those sort of lingering, just annoying lingering things. There we go. So we're on to whips now. I've got quite a few whips, but that's not unusual for me. And I've been actively working on all of them. I've really got into quite a swing of, in the weekends, I try and do a chunk on each of my whips. During the week, I try and just do what I'm in the mood for. So I'll just pick up the one that I'm in the mood for. So if I've had a really heavy head day and I want just something that's just total knitting, I'll do something like that. If I'm in the weekend, I'm a little bit better with, you know, being able to do things that are a little bit more complicated. But for obvious reasons, so my Birkin is one of my whips, and I haven't touched it. And the reason for that is that I've been, staying in other people's houses, my sister and my daughter's house, and lots of kids and activity going on around. So I decided it was just too hard to do my Birkin. I'm still totally committed to it, still want to see it finished. I'm looking forward to it finished, but it is one that I have to concentrate on because it's only even my second colour work, and it's in a full ply, and the colours are very similar and quite dark. So I do have to really concentrate on it. So I haven't done any Birkin, so you're not going to be seeing that today. But some of the ones I have been working on is my socks. So I've been trudging along with those, and well, not trudging along. Not as much. I probably would have had them finished if I had been at home, because I do my knitting of my socks in the car, and I can get a stripe done in a trip because I live 20 minutes out of town. I'm not sure if I said at the beginning, I live in New Zealand. I live down the lower half of the North Island, which is, we live quite rurally, way out in the farm. And yeah, so 20 minutes drive into town to go to work, which I work 5 days. I've been working 6 days a week, but I do work from home on this Saturday. So so I'll show you the one where I'm up to. So this is where I'm up to on my second one. I've just started, and I started yesterday, the heel flap, but I have cocked up. I started with 32 stitches. I've only done that much, and I've now got 24 stitches. What the heck? I must have dropped a whole lot of stitches, or knit two together, I think. It looks like it. So I'm going to have to pick back. I don't know whether I can pick back or whether I can get somebody to pick back for me. But I've mucked that up completely. I don't know why. Anyway, it's happened. That's something I want to talk about with mental health. So remember my heel. But yeah, once I've got the heel done, I don't like, I think I've said this in the past, I am really trying to find my passion for socks. I love wearing, I love the product, I don't like the process. So when I finish these, I'm going to try toe up, and I'm going to try a different heel, because I do not enjoy the heel flap and gusset, and I do not enjoy trying to pick up and cast on so many stitches with my sight. I've got to be real about what I can do and what I cannot do. So yeah, my next pair of socks I will attempt toe up and a different. There's one that people talk about, the fish kiss lips, or fish lips kiss or something. I'll give that one a try. Yeah, because don't enjoy, but love the product. Love. Let me look at that, and how cozy is that going to be? So love the product. I'm not enjoying the process. So that's my socks. Done quite a bit. I think that from memory, my second sock was only just cast on when last podcast. So that's ticking along. I just want to try and have a pair of socks going all the time. Yeah. My next whip is my half and half wrap, which I've talked about quite a bit. I'm not going to talk detail about these at all. I'm just going to show you my progress. So I've cast on my another colour, or same colour, my next stripe. So that is my half and half wrap. It is going to be this fawn brown and cream stripes for the first half, and the second half is going to be a nice smoky pink, which is very much the same palette as these, so it should blend in quite well. Yeah, so my marker where I was last podcast is, oh, I saw it the other day there. So in my last podcast I was there, so I've done an inch, you know, an inch, 260 stitches. An inch is not to be sneezed at. So I am ticking along. I'm not, again, not stressing about getting that finished. It's in my lovely bag from Rae from Walnut Cottage, I think, yes, and which I just love. And so it lives in there, and what I like about the, oh gosh, balls of wool floating everywhere. What I do like about the half and half wrap is that it's just garter stitch, and you can just pick it up. You don't have to worry about where you're at, and you just go. And so it's been a really nice, just a simple knit for me. So that's my half and half wrap. The next whip I have is my cardigan that I'm just, basically, I think what I'm saying is that I've made it up, and I am. I'm just using a pattern, and I'll make sure I get the pattern name right. Because, look, I put these little tags in to find them, but I still have to float around. Here we go. So I found a pattern called called the Maya cardigan, M-A-R-J-A, Maya cardigan by Novita Saiski. And it had colour work on it, and I didn't particularly like the colour work, but it was sort of the basis of what I wanted. So all I wanted was just a good cardigan that I can just throw on anywhere, a drop sleeve, comfortable wear, plain cardigan. And this is, so I've done quite a bit of work on this. I don't even know where the marker was in my last podcast, but I will move those markers. Oh, when I find them. I'm sure it'll be here somewhere. There it is there. So I have done the whole front of one side of the front, just about finished the back, and then I've got the other front to do. I'm knitting the band on it, and I am just using this Maya, or whatever the name is, pattern for the numbers. It is just going to be a nice plain cardigan. This is, I'm doing it on 5.5 mil, 5 mil for the ribs and 5.5, so it's quite a big, open, very comfortably loose but not floppy cardigan. This is 8 ply. It is Skeins Vintage Abroad in the colour Chili, and it's just a gorgeous colour. So I think that'll go with jeans and t-shirts, and you know, you can put that with quite a few colours. And yeah, that again this has probably been the one that I have really picked up the most just for straight plain knitting, because at the moment I haven't had to concentrate on any increases or decreases on the back because it's a drop sleeve, and so the back is just straight up, and that's where that's at. So I'm hoping, won't tempt fate. Again, that's another Rae bag, another gorgeous little bag from Rae. I'd like to get that finished for the next podcast. Oh, here comes one of those tropical holidays. Sorry guys, just going to strip off. Oh, there we go. I can cope better. How's the pink hair hanging up? Is it that all right? It's still pink, is it? Can't see myself on the screen, so yeah, you have probably just picked yourself up off the carpet from laughing and just sitting down to watch the podcast now and haven't heard a thing I've been talking about because all you've concentrated on is my pink hair. That's okay, I don't mind. So my next whip, here. Now this one I have cast on since my last podcast. So what I was thinking was I had a lot of winter knits. Like my Birkin is it's 4-ply, but it's still a winter jersey. It's a crew neck, long sleeve winter jersey. My half and half wrap is a huge double. It's going to be a winter shawl. My chilly cardigan will be good in summer and cooler days, but it's just one of those. It's going to be a long sleeve. So what I was thinking was actually I need some more, because we're coming into summer here in New Zealand. It's now spring. Our summer is the 1st of December, and although our spring has been pretty crap, really, couldn't call it a nice spring. It's been quite a miserable. It's almost been like an autumn. Nothing's really starting to bud, or only just starting to bud. And normally we've got blossoms everywhere, and but anyway, the weather is weird at the moment. So we're coming into summer. So I was thinking, okay, I really need to have some projects on that I can knit in the summer and or wear in the cooler weather. And I've loved my slip over so much, my terrazzo sleeveless, I decided to do another sleeveless, like a vest. So I brought this wool from our local shop, from Evans's, and it's 100% pure New Zealand wool, and it's 12-ply. It's called Highland. I don't know if you can see that because I'm as blind as a bat, as you know, so if you can see it, that's great. If not, my humble apologies. It's really soft, but it is crispy woolly, so it's nice and airy. And this is knit on a 5.5 as well. And so I have started, where's the pattern? The pattern wasn't in here. No, it's not now. I'll just tell you what it is. Hopefully, if I remember, I'll put a photo up, but if not, it is the... now I've lost my page. Oh, it's just turning to poo. Sorry guys, bear with. If I had a good memory, I'd be able to talk about it without having notes, but I don't. Okay, so this is a petite knits pattern, and it's called the Weekender Slipover. And I saw one of the sisters from the Grocery Girls wearing it and loved it and thought, yep, I'm going to make one. So I have started it. That's the back. So you start across the neck here and you knit down the back until you get to the underarm, and then you join on and knit the front. So I've done to the back. I'm just sort of down to shaping the sleeves. It's very, very open. I did question, you can see, but I did question whether I should have, I've got some leftover, it's acrylic though, it's not mohair, but some nice cream acrylic. It's called FOMO, so it's kind of a faux, F-O-U-X, mohair. Whether I should have held two together, and at one stage I thought I'll do a little test of the two and see what they look like, but I've got this far down now and I've figured no, I'll just carry on like this. And I don't want it too hot anyway. You can't breathe in acrylic, you know, wool you can breathe in, so I'm just going to keep going. And I love this is my colours. My colours are creams, caramels, pastels, pinks, and with a splash of red or purple. Those are, I love, just, you know, but just caramels and creams, fawns, just love them. So that's ticking along quite nicely, I think, and I'm really enjoying knitting that. Again, that was not too much of a, not too thinky sort of one. I got to the underarm sleeve increases, and I put it away because I thought, no, I can't do that with kids around, and trying to concentrate on children. And I do, it's not like I hadn't had kids, but when you haven't had them around you 24/7 for such a long time, you go in and you forget what it's like having to think, and you have two of them talking to you and three dogs, and who's fed the cat and who's done the dog, and have you got hockey tonight? Have you got cricket tonight? Where's your school uniform? Have you got homework? All of those things that, I just come home and crack a glass of wine and have a chat to Stuart and then just relax. I don't have to deal with that now. I've earned my stripes. So, but I did love it. But I might do the mental health talk now. So if you don't want to listen to the mental health talk, you can move ahead, but because this is relevant. So one of the nights I had, the Kushla, my daughter, is quite strict, and rightly she needs to be. She's got 4 kids at home. They're very busy lives, and she just likes to make sure that things are, so they all have their jobs, and I tend to be a little bit more relaxed with that sort of thing. I was a little bit more relaxed, as a parent and now, but I can see why she needs to cope. And so we had dinner, which I cooked, and I said to the 8-year-old, Braden, can you go, your job is to go and shut all the curtains ready for night time. Shut curtains and windows. So he went off and did that. And I said to Kiara, the 12-year-old, your job is to clear the plates and clear the tea. And anyway, so the 12-year-old quickly probably piped up, that's not my job. So, well, it is today because, I'm here and I've asked you to do that. And she just would not do it. She was like, this is not my job. And in our house, I don't do this job and I'm not doing it. And she put her foot down. Now, 2 things. Firstly, children's job is to push the boundaries because that's how they grow and that's how they learn. That's what she was doing. She was testing Nana. That's a job. That's all children's job is as they grow, they push the boundaries, we push them back, push the boundaries, we push them back. That's what they do. That's what she was doing. So I started getting really cross and I thought, okay then, if it's not your job. And then I said, 8-year-old, can you take your plate out, please? Well, I'm not taking my plate out because I've done my job and it was, you told 12-year-old it was her job, and it just turned into this, I'm not doing it, you're not doing it. In the end, I said, look, I'm just going to do it myself. And I got up, stormed out and grabbed the plate and went into the kitchen and ground my teeth. Afterwards, I thought, is this really worth all this aggro? And psychologists say, pick your battles, which is what I chose to do because I was only there for a week. They were testing me clearly and I didn't need the battle. So I chose not to carry on playing the game. If I had been there any longer, if I'd been the parent, I would have had to have stuck to my guns, and I would have, to make sure that they did the jobs I asked. But I just picked my battle because I was only there for a week. So that's my tip, is pick your battles. Doesn't matter whether if it's with your children, with your partner, with your work colleagues, whatever. Just pick your battles. You don't have to fight over things. You can choose whether you want to make an argument out of something. It's your choice. And so that's really what I was thinking. And so what I did is I started to think about that within my knitting. And because of my sight challenges, sometimes I don't knit so well. There's some things that I get really frustrated with because they just don't look as tidy as they would have if I'd been well sighted. Or like, for example, my heel flap and gusset on my sock last night. I just was so angry with myself that I should have had 32 stitches and I only had 24 or whatever it was within a matter of 10 rows. And how the hell did that happen? And I was just getting angry about it. And then I thought, actually, I need to pick my battles with myself about my knitting. I'm never, because of my sight, I'm going to make mistakes, because I'm going to do things that are never that perfect. But even if I was fully sighted, we're human, we make mistakes. It is homemade, not shop bought, so there will be mistakes, there will be imperfections. So it is a matter of just picking your battles. And there's a book, and I can't remember the author, but it's a really good book that is worth reading if you do struggle with kind of letting things go, and it's called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. So if you want to follow up more about what I'm talking about, grab the book. I'm sure it'll be in any local library. Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, or you probably get it audio now. Yeah, so there's my mental health tip. For my own sanity, I chose to not sweat the small stuff. Kenzie's just walked in, and that's why I'm looking down and wondering what's going on, and Kenzie's just joined us. I don't know, you can't see her, but she's here. Yeah, so don't sweat the small stuff. That was my lesson last week, the week before, looking after the grandchildren. And I suppose having my brother-in-law having a health issue, you know, you reassess things, and that's probably a good lesson to take on board. Is this going to be important in 5 years' time? You know, is it going to be important in a week's time? You know, is it something that's going to be life-changing? Is it, you know, is it something that is worth the stress? Because stress does impact on us physically and biologically. So is it worth it? Anyway, enough of that palaver, because I could talk psych all day. I get so geeked out about our brain, how it functions and how we function and our behaviour as human beings. I get really sort of quite geeked out and excited about it. So I'm sorry about that. I also get geeked out and excited about knitting. So what's the next one? Where am I up to? So I think I talked about all my whips. So that's my half and half wrap, my weekender slip over, my socks, my just on the go socks, which are, the pattern is the Crazy Sock Ladies pattern vanilla socks, and I haven't done my Birkin. Oh, and my chili cardigan. I'm calling it my chili cardigan because chili is the colour of the wool. I had to order another 4 skeins of that wool, but probably because I've knit it on quite a big needle and quite a big gauge, and I haven't done any fitting or anything. I don't care. I just want it to be nice and loose, so it'll be fine whether it's 2 inches of positive eaves or whether it's 5 inches. I don't mind. I did have to order 4 more skeins of the wool because I brought that wool when I was up at Cairn, the August Nights knitting retreat, and I brought it at Skeins shop, and it was on special, and I bought 10. I just bought 10 without thinking. When I got knitting on this, I kept worrying about not having enough. I probably will almost have enough. I might need 2 of those perhaps, but I'll have plenty left over and it'll get used. I'll make some. I've never really been a children. I mean, I knit for my kids, just to clothe them really. I never found a passion in children's knitting. Anyway, changing the subject again. One of the things that I think I talked about last time was I love the knitting stew, which is a lovely lady who's a stewardess. Well, they now call them cabin assistants, I think, don't they? And she runs she has a podcast that she does in between her travels while she's flying around. And she found this pattern called the leafy washcloth, which was you do it in cotton, and it's to make washcloths, and you could make dishcloths out of it too, I think. But what she'd done is made them in wool and used them for placemats. It's the shape of a leaf, and so I loved that idea. And she brought a beautiful pottery cup and knitted a leaf placemat and gave them as a gift. So I thought, right, that's me, I'm going to do them. So I got the pattern and I've knit one, and Well, I did ask some lovely knitters at a knit group that I popped into the other day just to say hello. What do they think I've done wrong? So I've knit this leaf, hasn't been blocked, by the way, so blocking will help, I know. So I don't know if you can see that. So it's got the stalk down the bottom, and it's got the shapes running up the side and then back to the tip of the leaf. But it's got this, it's actually would make a better mask than a leaf. I might block out, I'll give it a try, but it's too big for a start, for a placemat. So I was just playing. It only took me a couple of days to knit this. It was super quick. It's DK. I was just using some leftover DK from my Embers cardigan, which is a skeins wool, one of my favourite wools. I don't know whether there's 6 rows, you can see the 6 rows, I think you can see them, in between that you knit without any increases or decreases, whether I leave those out, because that seems to be where the bump is. Would make a good bra cup. It certainly would make a good placemat. So I did ask these lovely ladies who I popped in, I'm going to better watch the tripod again, crossing my legs, you know, what they think I'd done. And they think it was because I didn't do gauge and I didn't use the needle that the pattern suggested. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm going to block this out. See, it actually sits flat on my lap. I don't know if you can see that, but it is sitting flat. It's too big anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit another one. I'm going to knit it on much smaller needles. I knit it on, and I knit it on straight needles, which I haven't done for such a long time, and I hated it. You know what? I realised how awkward they are. I kept dropping one of them, and the fantastic thing with circular needles is if you drop a needle, it's still connected so you can find it, but I kept dropping one, losing it. I've actually lost one down the side of the couch, which I'm going to have to get my granddaughter to find for me, because it fell down the side of the couch while I was trying to cast on. But so I didn't enjoy knitting with them. I thought, God, and I did that for 40 years. So they are, but I can read the size, 4.5. So maybe I'll go down to a 3.25 or something quite small. I've cast on there. I don't even know I've done that. Anyway, and still stick to the DK and see what happens then. I'll have a play. What I could do if I get stuck is I could message, I don't know the lady's name, the Knitty Stew. I'm sure she'd answer a post a DM or whatever they're called, because I really love the idea of them being a placemat, you know, a nice little leaf shape wall placemat with a pottery cup on it. I love that idea. So I'm going to persevere with those and just have a play. They're kind of one of those things that if I've done a lot of knitting and I just want to do something that's a bit of fun, so that's that. But this little pouch came into, a few of them came into the op shop the other day. My sister-in-law picked them up for our office to use. And I grabbed one and I said, oh, that's handy. That could be great for socks and little bits of knitting. So it's just it sits in A4 document. It's a document pouch. I've used it as a knitting pouch. Quite handy. And you can see what's in it. So that's quite good. Might see if I can grab another one of those for my socks. That side of the floor is empty now and that side is full, so that's a good sign. I've obviously been talking for a while. Yeah, I'm going to have a drink of water because again my lungs or my esophagus or whatever, it's this post-COVID rubbish. So let me have a look and see what I've got written down. I'm not sure if I said in my last podcast, but I did buy some soap, homemade soap from a lovely lady at Cairn, the Knitting Retreat, and her name was Rayne, Rayne, and it was beautiful soap. And I brought one that was a kawa soap, which is it's not a herb, it's a shrub, I think. and it's got medicinal properties. And I have psoriasis, and so I used Raynes soap, and my psoriasis is gone completely, and I'd almost say completely. There's still a few dry, bumpy bits, but it's worked amazing. It's probably the best soap I've ever used. So I ordered 4 more. So that is, she has a Facebook page, Raynes Soaps, Raynes. I highly recommend it, especially if you have. And she's got beautiful flavour, smell it like peppermint and lemon and mango and all of lovely, lovely homemade soaps. But I've just, particularly for my skin, that's been amazing. So thank you, Rain. If you watch my podcast, I love your soap, and I will keep buying it. If you are local, if you live in the Wairarapa or Masterton, which is where I live, my work is really concerned about people still not really getting out and about after our lockdowns. There's for lots of reasons. I think some people have they were on this treadmill, and then lockdown made them step off the treadmill, and they're not really ready to get back on it. Some people have this fear of getting back out in the community, but of either making people sick or getting sick. And some people have developed social anxieties and phobias. And it's been quite a concern of mine as a social worker. Passionate about my community, and I really want them to be well and healthy. So what I've done is I have just set up for my team to do an absolute fun term. Nothing deep and educational, although we will have some 1 to 2 hour workshops that will be like stress management, time management, those sorts of things, but lots of fun. So we're going to have making homemade lip scrubs, making calendula cream, which is kind of like Savlon or Kawa Kawa. What else are we going to be doing? We're going to be making homemade cleaning products in spray bottles, and just so every Tuesday and Wednesday 10 o'clock there'll be something going on in our education room that will be fun for the rest of the term. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday mornings 10 o'clock at 41 Perry Street, where my business is, Motoru Development. Also Tuesdays 3 to 5 I'm running a fabric fun and fibre session, and that is just if you knit or sew or want to spend time with knitters and sewers, or want to learn knitting, sewing, crocheting, or some sort of craft, or just want to be around people, or whether you're an experienced crafter or want to learn, you are welcome. I'll be there. I have the luxury ability to lay my hand on pretty much any craft, so I can help with any craft. I think I've talked about this before, my first career was as a Benina sewing demonstrator, and at that time I also did some dressmaking and lots of sewing, and so if you have a sewing machine, I can fix the tensions on, I can show you how to oil it and maintain it, and do some sewing. I can teach you to knit, crochet, most handcrafts I can do. So you're welcome to those. And on a Tuesday evening, starting, does it start this week or next week? I can't remember. You'll have to look on our Facebook page. I'll tell you the details, and I'll put them in below as well in the thing. So Tuesday evening for 6 sessions, I'm running a life workshop, LLIFE. So it's living life in fullness every day. And that is like learning how to move forward if you're feeling kind of stuck. So it'll be communication skills, looking at worry and looking at anxiety. We'll be looking at goal setting and journaling, and your visions, and how you can move forward, how you think and function, where you think and function in your psyche, and how you can work with who you are and how you can move forward. So that's 6 sessions, Tuesdays 5:30 till 7:30. I know it's an odd time, but yes, I thought I'd try an evening one for people. and I can't stand 7:30 courses because you get home and you just will not go out again. Whereas with this, I'll provide a few nibbles, and if you come from work or anything, you can just come straight in. So my business is Motu Oru Development Services, MOTUORU, Motu Oru Development Services, and we have a Facebook page, and it's got a calendar and of what's going on for the term, but it's free. Everything's free, but we do ask a koha. So if you can give a koha, if you can't give a koha, we will understand, but if you can give a koha, we appreciate that. We have a donation box there, but anyone is welcome. So bring a friend, come and have a cup of tea, we'll have the jug on and chat and be social and just try and start getting out there again. So that's what's happening at work. And yeah, my knitting group, well, gosh, we have 23 ladies on my knitting group now. It's not it's our knitting group, Y Knit, WAI Knit. So Y short for Wairarapa. I started it probably a year or so ago with a few ladies who are friends that we all knit, and it's just grown and grown and grown. And so we meet once a month on a Sunday. If you're interested, just flip me a message, and you're more than welcome. And we can put you on the chat page, and you can, chat to all the other knitters. And we often talk about patterns that we've got and all that sort of thing. We did talk about one we've been chatting this last week on the chat page. There was what was called a knit camp, and it was Olive Knits running a knit camp, and I didn't quite understand what it was about, but I booked for it anyway. It was a free Zoom, and it was a lovely woman who and I'm assuming she was Marie Green, who is Olive Knits. I didn't watch all of it or get the beginning of it. Too many kids around, but it was kind of like it was more advertising or promoting a education platform that she's going to be running, a bit like Wardrobe Toolbox, I'm assuming. But she had a free, if you were interested, you got a free pattern. So I ordered a free pattern, and it is the pattern I ordered, and I've printed it off, and it's sitting in the printer, so I can't even show you. I will try and remember to put a photo in there. It's called Apogeon, Apogeon, Apogean, and it's an olive knit. And so what I brought last year from Helene from Happy Go Knitty Wool, a sweater's lot of 4-ply on her Māori wool, which is just the most stunning wool. I've knit one jersey top with it. I did my sesha with it, and I am knitting my Birkin with the same wool, and I've got this lot of wool put away and for a summer knit. And there was a pattern last year called the Summer Tea, I think, or the Tea shirt, and it was the stripes and the colours that I loved. It was burgundies and golds and sort of this, she calls it custard green, I think. But oh God, I love the colours. So I brought the wool, but I didn't like the pattern. And so this Epogean, or whatever it's called, I'm sorry, I always feel embarrassed about mucking up names. This, I'll call it the olive knit top, is a simple V-neck, top down, raglan sleeve t-shirt, and it's striped. So it's perfect, and I got it for free for listening to that podcast. So that's going to be one of my next cast-ons. So my next cast-on will hopefully be that when I finish one of these. I'm going to finish one of these before I start another one. My next socks that I'm going to cast on are called the Sunday socks, and they are the lovely big squishy comfy socks for Sunday around the house. And I still want to do my Rubicon shawl with the lovely wool that I was given by, oh, sorry, my dear, your name has completely lost me, Marlene, from Strawberry Patches. Oh, I'm terribly sorry, your name has, and this is where menopause is cruel. She's just a honey, and we've been chatting away, and I'm sorry, the name is gone. But she gave me some beautiful pink April wool, posted me some pastel pink, and so I'm going to do the Rubicon shawl. So I've got a few projects set up ready to go. I've got the wool here. I'm really trying not to buy any wool. I'm using my stash, because what I've discovered is there's people with these cupboards behind me with all the wool in them, which is what I want to do, because I've got boxes of stuff put away in bins and I don't remember it. I've got it, so I want to do that. I get that, but I do find that it gives me a bit of pressure, because yeah, you have to knit it. We have to want to knit it, and I have heard people say that it's two separate hobbies. One is collecting yarn and one is knitting, and that I understand as well. So yeah, I'm kind of in a funny place with that. I do get a bit, I feel pressured when I've got lots of wool floating around. I don't feel pressured when I've got 4 or 5 whips on the go. It's those project lots. So I'm trying not to buy any wool. Plus I'm trying to save a bit of money. My kids have shouted me a trip over to Australia to see my grandchildren that I never met yet. I have met one of my grandies when she was newborn, but I haven't met her, and she's 3, and there's a wee little newborn. So it's Eli and I've been talking too long, and I've lost my granddaughter's name now. That's terrible. Menopause. Anyway, I'm going over to Australia to see my grandchildren next month, and so my kids shouted it for me for my birthday, which is lovely, but obviously there's still costs. So I'll tell you more about that in my next podcast. I'll be pretty much ready to go, because I've only got 3 weeks to go. It's getting exciting. Yeah, gosh, I've talked so much. I hope you've enjoyed that. I sometimes feel like I just ramble and ramble, but I do love it. I do love talking to you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Kenzie's now snoring there, and yesterday I worked all day. I had 6 counselling sessions back to back, so I counselled 6 1-hour sessions, and I am feeling very jaded. And so today I am going to fill my energy box with lots of knitting and lots of relaxation, catching up on Coro, and yeah, that's pretty much what's going to happen for me today. Have a good day. Be a good week. You have control, remember. Choose your battles and enjoy your knitting. None of us are perfect, so it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, as long as you're enjoying doing it. Anyway, bye for now. We'll catch you next week.